Good morning. Come in, come in, come on in, come on in. Say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Good morning, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to wait for you guys to tune in. If this is your first time, definitely comment. Let me know if it's your first time so I can give you a shout out. Hey, Chic from Atlanta. Good morning. I'm here in Atlanta too. Lioness Queen. Good morning. Hi, Tyler from Montana. Mr. Tusk on YouTube. Good morning. So let me introduce myself. My name is 𝐂𝐻𝐸. I'm an immigration lawyer. I represent clients all over the United States with their family immigration matter. Your location is not an issue. We have cases in every state, virtually every state, the United States. So even though our offices are in Atlanta and Florida, we still take cases in other states. Our phone number here is 407-995-6567. WhatsApp is 404-333-8751. I'm going to post it and pin it on Instagram. And then, for those of you who are on Facebook and YouTube, you should see it scrolling through the ticker already. And if you don't catch it, or if you don't catch this live, you can also find the number on the profile on any of those platforms. Share this live, let your friends tune in. I'm going to break this down. I'm going to break down VAWA today. I've actually gotten some comments recently asking what this is. And I specifically responded to somebody today telling them to join today's live because that's what I'm talking about. So what is VAWA? That is a question that I got asked about 3 times this week. So to answer your question, VAWA means Violence Against Women Act. It is it's an act, which is basically a law that allows victims of domestic violence, domestic abuse to get a 10-year green card. So in breaking it down, I don't want you guys to be confused by the name Violence Against Women's Act. Even though it has women in it, this act benefits men, women, children, and parents. And it's probably about high time they change the name so it's more inclusive of all the people that are included. So how does one qualify for, to get a green card through VAWA? The first thing is you have to show that you are married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, or that you're the child of a U.S. citizen or a green card holder and you're under the age of 21. If you're over the age of 21 but under the age of 25, there is some wiggle room. It changes your process a little bit, but we have to be able to show that part of the behavior of your parent is why you filed late. You can also qualify if you are the parent of a U.S. citizen only that is at least 21 years old. So those are the 3 core categories that, remember, even when I say parents, I'm also including step parents because, you can be abused by a step parent as opposed to, your own parent. So I'm including everyone in this category of parent or step parent. So now, once you first of all determine that you meet that eligibility, the next thing is we have to determine, one, in a case of marriage, that you and your spouse have cohabitated together. Simply put, cohabitation just means you've lived together, and luckily for most victims, you don't have to prove that you've lived together after marriage if you can prove that you lived together before marriage. People ask me all the time, is there a timeline of how long we live together? The answer is no. There's no timeline. We've gotten, approvals for people as short as a couple of weeks, 2 months, whatnot. However, you still want to prove that you did live together. So you still want to get some sort of evidence for us to submit to USCIS to show that, you guys did live together. So, it's not about the time, but just showing that. And then the third thing is you have to show there's been some form of abusive behavior or extreme cruel behavior, and you can hear the word extreme, like what your spouse is doing, what your parent is doing, what your child is doing has to be extreme. Kiana says, good morning, thank you. A lot of people still don't know about VAWA. Please keep these videos and lives coming. You will never know who needs it. Yeah, I know. Like, I literally get people still commenting, saying this is the first time they've heard it, or like, wow, they've been going through this, they've been divorced for a year and they've given up, and they saw this and realized that they actually qualify for this. So that's why, I do this video. In order to prove abuse or extreme cruelty, guys, remember, you don't have to prove that you submitted a police report. Of course, if you submit a police report, it's helpful. Of course, if your spouse was given a temporary restraining order or something like that, it's helpful. Of course, if you can show that your spouse was physically abusive to you and you have evidence, they're helpful. But what I want you guys to know and to understand is that not having that is not what is going to cause a person to be denied, because USCIS is looking for any credible evidence, any evidence that makes sense. So what does that look like? It could mean your personal testimony, your personal statement. If this is not your first time following me, you know that I posted about one of my clients last week, midweek, I think it was on either like a Thursday, who had a really horrific situation where my poor client, came into this country, believing that he was with the love of his life, all for him to find out basically he was brought here to be basically a slave for his spouse's lover. And for 2 years, he sat down, he worked, cutting grass, cutting trees, never got a penny, okay? His 9-year-old daughter sleeping on the floor, but they never thought to call the cops. Because, when somebody tells you, if you call the cops, I will get you deported. You're going to get in trouble because you're the one that doesn't have papers. You're the one that's not supposed to be working. What are they going to do? Or somebody comes into this country and culturally, they don't understand how this country works. They come with speaking a different language, or they've never been to the United States. Look, I always tell you guys, I was born in the United States, but I went to high school and elementary school in Nigeria. By the time I came back to this country, even though I was a U.S. citizen, this country was as foreign to me as someone who wasn't born here. So let alone somebody that comes in here, doesn't know how immigration works, doesn't know how culturally it works. And, the officer, badgered my client. Like, you don't have any evidence. Like, how can I approve you? But guys, my client was able to present this compelling declaration of what happened and make the story make sense of why they didn't report, So you don't have to have physical abuse, but you do have to show that what has happened to you is extremely cruel. So in that example, there's no physical, as a standard. It's not like he's being punched in the face or whatever it is, but there is some form of physical abuse, making someone do manual labor, and not paying them for 2 years, and like they're basically picking food, anyone that can give him $10 here or there to feed them and their child. There is mental abuse, when you put people, in a situation where mentally, it's affecting them. Or psychologically it's affecting them, or they feel less than, or they feel like, they're not, they don't deserve to be here. Obviously talking and breaking down abuse is a longer live for another day, because I want to have time to take questions, but I'm just trying to explain to you guys extreme cruelty and, showing abuse when you want to submit a VAWA petition. And then the other thing is you also want to show that you are a person of good moral character. As long as the petitioner, the person that's filing, is over the age of 13, you want to show, not 13, 14, You have to show you're a person of good moral character. You don't have crimes of moral turpitude. If you've been arrested before, we always want to evaluate what was the charge, what happened, just so that we can see if we can show, no, you're a person of good moral character. This domestic issue was actually aggravated by the spouse. I'm just using as an example. If, let's say, it was a domestic altercation or something like that. But it's always good to evaluate it, because it's not all arrest that is going to make them say, okay, you're not a person of good moral character. We always want to evaluate what the arrest is. So you have to show that. And then, in marriage, we want to show that your marriage is a bona fide, legitimate marriage. So there are two things that they're looking for in marriage to determine that your marriage is a bona fide and legitimate marriage that allows you to move forward to get your green card through a VAWA process. The first one is that you have to have been free to marry this person. So what does that look like? It means that if you're divorced, you'd have to have a valid and authentic divorce decree. Some countries might have divorce nisi, divorce absolute. Some cities here, even in the US, like Massachusetts, does the same thing, absolute nisi, but you want to make sure it is valid, that your divorce decree is valid. I can't tell you how many people come to me, Attorney Aisha, my VAWA got denied. My whatever got denied because they're saying that my divorce is not valid. And the first question I ask him is your divorce valid? This is not something to play around with, because you can meet all the requirements. I always say this, I'm pretty good, but I can't turn water into wine because I'm not Jesus. Like, I cannot turn an invalid divorce to a valid divorce. So you want to make sure that you know the rules of the country where you're getting your divorce, and you want to make sure that that divorce is authentic. And I'm specifically speaking to Nigerians, specifically when I'm talking about this, because y'all are the ones that have it the worst when it comes to this divorces. First telltale sign that your divorce is not valid is if an attorney did not present that case to divorce. That is your first telltale sign, because in Nigeria, it is required by law that a solicitor and attorney files that divorce, okay? So once you're able to establish that, and the other thing is, obviously, if your spouse passed away, you want to be able to show that, you have the, death certificate, you being listed as a spouse, to show that you're free to marry. The second thing in marriage is that you want to improve in bona fide, is you want to show that you didn't enter this marriage for the purpose of immigration. That you entered this marriage truly because you believed that you guys were going to have a good life, but unfortunately, this is what happens. So you want to show that. There's so many ways to show that. If you guys scroll through my timeline, I talk about this a lot. So you can go through somewhere in my timeline and find a video. Just do a search in my YouTube video. I'm sure you'll find it, or I can talk about it another day. So those are the core things you want to show. And then finally, and this is good news for those of you who qualify for VAWA. If you do normally, if you file for like maybe a marriage-based adjustment of status, you and your spouse are married and you're filing for a green card, you must prove that you entered into the country with inspection. You must prove that you came in with certain types of visas, even if you've overstayed your time, but you must prove that you came in with that. The great thing about VAWA, if you do qualify, is that if you do qualify for VAWA, is that you don't have to prove that you entered into the country with a visa. Like, even if you cross the border, you're still eligible. Even if you came in with like a crewman visa, like CB visas, you're still eligible. With the J1, you could be eligible as long as you don't have the 2-year waiver or exception where you have to go back to your home country and stay there for 2 years, or you have a no objection waiver. I can't go through all the list of visas, but that's just giving you an example of some of the things that would qualify you for it. And then, I know someone had asked before, what about if you're in removal? If you're in removal, you can still file a VAWA petition. You can file a VAWA petition. Someone says, please, the number is not on WhatsApp. Elamine, the WhatsApp number, maybe I should change my PIN. The WhatsApp number is a 404-333-8751. The other number is not on WhatsApp. I wish this will allow me to copy paste it. All right, guys, just give me a second to rewrite this number because I can't talk and type numbers at the same time. 4795 6567. Okay, so I'm gonna pin this one so you know the difference between the WhatsApp 404 333 8751. Okay, so hopefully this is clear, Elamine, and anyone else that needs it. Now let's pin it. Okay, so that's pinned, so you should be able to see both. What was I talking about? I lost my train of thought. But yeah, so if you're able to show all those things, guys, you can have a successful VAWA petition. You can get your 10-year green card. With VAWA, somebody asked, what is the timeline? Anytime anyone gives you a timeline, including USCIS, is just telling you that this is the average timeline. It doesn't mean that 100% of cases will fall in this timeline. It just means majority of people will fall in this timeline. So it's 2 years to 2.5 years is what the process takes. While your process is pending, though, you will be able to get a 2-year work permit and a 2-year travel permit if eligible. So timeline 2 years to 2.5 years. If you have a work permit and travel permit, that's pretty bearable because you have the 2 core things that you need that you'll be getting with a green card regardless. So you just have to wait patiently while it is happening. You want to make sure that if you divorce one spouse, you don't go remarrying the other spouse until they make a decision on your case, because you will no longer be eligible for a green card through this process if you go back remarrying. Okay, I think I got out everything. And I'll save this live for those of you who want to go back and review what VAWA is. But let me answer some questions. Good morning, Cleopatra on YouTube. Good morning, Novelettes. Mr. Tuss says, I have a 2-year green card. Recently experienced domestic violence from my wife and she got arrested. How do I go about removing my green card based on the circumstances? Well, first of all, let me say I'm sorry that you went through that. That's terrible. I'm happy to help. You can call my office, 407-995-6567, and I can go through the process of removing conditions with a waiver, and how we help clients with that. Okay. Okay, so let me take some of these Instagram questions. Okay, so somebody says, how long does it typically take to get called for spousal interview for adjustment of status after getting your EAD? Honestly, there's no method or rhythm to timeline, so I can't technically say, every field office is different, every officer is different. You might have officers in the same office where they're processing cases at a different speed based on their caseload, so it's hard to say. But generally, I would say like a normal timeline for marriage-based cases where 80% of people will fall are somewhere between 11 to 15 months. Sometimes you could get your interview earlier, but that's generally the window for most people. Okay. Let's see what other questions I have. Leanna says, do you only deal with marriage issues? No, we also help immigrants who are looking to file based on a wonderful marriage, which are our favorites because we love that. We love to see happiness and couples who want to file for a marriage-based green card. We also help with naturalization, which is to get your citizenship. We also help with consular processing if you're processing for your loved ones, like your parents, your children outside of the United States. We also help with fiance visas, basically any family-based petition we can help you with. We also deal with, appeals, requests for additional evidence, notice of intents to deny. So just basically the gamut, as long as it falls within, the family realm. We don't handle employment immigration cases. Okay, let's see what other questions I have in the chat box. I am K. Roy says, when are you going to start taking questions? Right now, so you can ask me a question. Let me scroll all the way down. So candidate says, what about fiance visas? How long do these take? It varies depending on the country. Some countries, it can take you as quickly as 8 months. Some other countries, it can take you like 15 to 24 months. So it just depends on what country, What about what's next after receiving a prima facie determination letter? Okay, so a prima facie determination letter, in light of talking about VAWA, is when you first submit your VAWA petition, the first thing that happens is they first of all review everything that has been presented, and if they feel that it's established you as a victim or a potential victim, meaning all those prongs that I just talked about, you'll be given a prima facie determination letter. This letter for some people is beneficial. I say some people because depending on the state you live, it might offer benefits, and in some states it doesn't necessarily. So for some people, like let's say you're in Texas or Florida, you can get your driver's license. So you don't have to wait till your work permit comes out. You can get your driver's license. For other people, it means that they can go back to school and get financial aid for the window of that prima facie. For some other people, it also means that they can get public assistance. This is very state specific, and so you have to find out the rules of your state. I'm an attorney that handles immigration cases. I don't handle like public benefits, but you can find out some states will specifically, have requirements for like VAWA victims, or say, you can get financial assistance for housing if you live with the abuser, for instance, because it's like, how can an abuser be profiting off of the government when, we're giving you this to get you out of that situation? Nika says, if you have a second extension prima facie determination letter, is it a good thing? A prima facie determination letter is a standard. It doesn't mean anything if you get a second one, because you should get a second one. What I mean by that, let me actually rephrase that, because I've been getting a lot of people saying, oh, well, I got a prima facie, so it's a guarantee that I'm going to get approved because that's what somebody told me. So I just want to make this clear, and the prima facie is a good thing in that it shows you're moving in the right direction, but it is not a guarantee of approval. It's a guarantee. It's basically saying we're giving you this so you can go ahead and do these other things while we now use a fine-tooth comb to review your application. But it does not guarantee anything. So I just want to make sure you don't have a false sense of, what's to come. I mean, my wish is that everyone who gets a prima facie gets approved. But, I think that if I'm coming here on live to talk to you guys, that I should educate you guys honestly what the rules and what the requirements are. So when you get your first prima facie letter, you get it for 365 days for 1 year. After it expires, you get an automatic extension. Every extension is going to keep coming in 6-month increments until they make a decision on your case. So it is a standard, meaning even if, let's say, you got your first prima facie and your second one is coming late, do not panic. If they've given it to you, you keep getting it. It's just that USCIS is slow like that, and you eventually get it in the mail. But you don't have to apply again for it. It's just going to come automatically, and it will be 6 months. So I'm just telling you guys now, for those of you who haven't gotten it, so you're not in a state of panic. Why is it only 6 months? The first one was 1 year. Did something happen? That's normal. That's the standard. Okay. Everbless says, good morning, attorney. I love and appreciate you and your staff. You guys are blessed. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I don't even know who you are, Everbless. Declo. I don't know who you are. You know, you guys all use all these names on Instagram, and you know, you tell me why I follow you, and I'm like, you guys don't have your real name, so I don't know who anybody is. Believer Scrums 1982 says, what can cause a VAWA petition to be denied? Different things. You know, basically, if you don't meet one of the requirements that I talked about in the beginning, you know, if you can't prove that your marriage is legit, you know, that can cause you to be denied. If you can't prove you have the moral character, that can cause you to be denied. If you can't prove the abuse, that can cause you to be denied. You know, so there are different things. So based on all the prongs I talked about in the beginning of this slide, they're basically looking at each of them. You know, you have to satisfy each of them, you know, and if there's one that you're not able to satisfy, that's what will cause you to get denied. So that's why it's important to, you know, make sure you're really solid and airtight with everything that you need. Everybody said, do you get a prima facie first or work permit first? The answer is, it just depends. Sometimes this is something that really irks me that has been happening recently, where USCIS would have approved a prima facie determination letter for my client. I will not send it till like 5 months later, which is really annoying. You know, because, you know, for me or for the client, like, well, why didn't I get one? Why didn't I get one? And then, you know, I reach out to USCIS, like, oh, here you go. We thought we sent it, which is very irritating. So USCIS, if you're watching, make sure you guys are sending that stuff on time. Second thing is, what was it? The second thing is, if that happens, then it's possible that you can get your work permit before. But if your prima facie is done the proper way and it's looked at, you will normally get that before the work permit. Sometimes even before biometrics. Sometimes. Tyler says, a friend used an injury attorney to file VAWA, and now he received annoyed. Annoyed is a notice of intent to deny, and the attorney is not giving him a straight explanation. What should he do? Tyler, your friend should call me. I mean, why are you even asking this question? Tell him to hit me up at the number below, and we'll take care of it. C. Naja says, may I apply for a loan with Form I-130? With Form 131, and I-131 is travel authorization. So you cannot apply for a loan. I-131 is to, are you trying to say, can you apply a loan like by itself? Is that what you're trying to say? If that's what you're trying to say, you can apply for an I-131, a loan, as long as you have a pending petition or something that qualifies you for it. Do you understand? So like, for example, you know, if you have a pending 485, you can file an I-131. If you have, you know, if you have a, what's the one thing I was going to say now? If you have a TPS, you can apply. So, you know, that's that. Okay. Proudly Evo says, good morning. I'm Evo as well. Hello. What is your VAWA success rate? Have you ever lost a VAWA case? Well, I'm happy to say that I have only lost one VAWA case. Listen, I am a very honest, straight shooter lawyer, and I will always tell you guys the truth. And the reason why I lost that case is because of what I told you guys in the beginning. If you do not have a valid divorce, there is only so much I can do. I cannot turn water into wine. You know, I love this client, and we fought tooth and nail to see how we could authenticate, get a valid divorce, change whatever it is. But the thing is, if your divorce is not valid, there's nothing I can do. That literally was the only single reason why my client lost. All is not lost with that client, but I have a pretty good rate. So that's what I'll say. And that's also because you have to qualify for me to take your case, because I don't know about anybody else, but I love to win. You know, I'm competitive. Most lawyers don't like to lose their cases, like, so I'm not taking a case for my case to lose. My clients will tell you, even if I have a client that comes with like bad energy, bad vibes, I'm like, take that away from me. Like, if you don't believe you're going to win your case, keep that to yourself, because I don't need that energy while I'm working, because I'm working with every intent of all my clients winning their cases. Okay. So Gabby says, I wasn't able to get a driver's license with a prima facie in San Antonio, Texas. That's odd. Definitely what you want to do is you can actually go online and print out the DMV rules and then take it to them, because sometimes they don't know. So take the DMV rules to them, but Texas, you should be able to. Alayo Ibrahim says, can someone apply for a green visa without professional experience? Are you trying to say like a green card? So the question is, there are many things that you can do by yourself, but would you do them yourself? Should you do them yourself? Because it's very important, right? You can go figure out how to self-medicate yourself and so many other things, but should you do that, or should you go to the doctor, and get the right prescription, or get the right procedure, get the right surgery, So yeah, you should get professional help for something as serious as your green card, because, I talk about this all the time. For a lot of people, getting status in the United States it can change the trajectory of your life. It could change your future. And that of your family. So don't dabble in something that you know nothing about, because immigration is every bit about strategy, and it's not about forms. I talk about it all the time. It is a strategic process, where we look at a petitioner's file. We go to law school to learn, and I have to jump off after this question to jump into my meeting. When we go to law school, what we're taught is critical thinking, right? And what we call issue spotting. Every single exam you take in law school, and for the lawyers here, you can put a halo or an amen if this is true. Every single test that you take is about what we call issue spotting. It is the issue, the rule, your analysis, and your conclusion. And that is how every lawyer should treat their cases. Meaning, if somebody comes to me for a consult, the first thing I'm doing is I'm asking questions, not because I feel like asking questions, because I'm trying to issue spot potential issues. When a packet is fully presented, and I'm looking at an immigration petition, I'm doing the same thing. Okay, bank statement. Let me go through this bank statement. You're telling me you live in Tennessee. Why are all your expenses being done in Georgia? That is issue spotting. For a lot of regular people, they don't have the professional training to do that. So they're submitting all these things, and then when USCIS comes back and has spotted all the issues, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't think of that. Oh my gosh, why didn't I remove that? And then at that point, a lot of times it's too late to fix. So you want to try to, get your stuff done by a professional so that you can do it well the first time. Okay, guys, I really have to jump off. Enjoy chatting with you guys. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.